So there is a motion and a second. I will make that action unanimous, and Labor Day it is.
The Toll Bridge Program Oversight Committee reestablished the Labor Day weekend opening of the New Bay Bridge after two outside experts and the Federal Highway Administration advised an interim fix was proper and safe. Vincent Mamano said assessing the proposed use of a shim to safeguard seismic elements of the New Bay Bridge had been the Federal Highway Administration's top priority.
We were very impressed with the expertise that you have throughout the process, and we see no reason to delay the opening of the bridge to traffic prior to the Cherokee retrofit being completed. All the way up to our administrator, that this was top priority for us, so that our administrator, Victor Mendez, was on board with our participation in this from the get-go.
So just to be clear, you are willing to continue to assist us in terms of evaluating the testing results?
Absolutely. I'll easily commit our agency to helping as we move forward with it.
So I'm Brian Morgenstern with Buckland & Taylor, and our firm specializes in bridges. Our conclusion at the end of the day was that the proposal for temporarily shimming the bearings to address the situation is sound.
We were involved with the design of the original San Francisco and Oakland Bay Bridge, and we are specifically a bridge-only design firm, much like Buckland & Taylor. We work across the country. We thought long and hard about what downsides there would be in the short term or long term for having these shims in for a relatively short period of time, and really could come up with none. So we see no risk to installing these shims.
Maybe just for the record, I'd like each of the three reviewers to answer it, just to confirm my understanding of what occurred here, because Tom mentioned, I think a couple times, all of you did, that your reviews were done independent of us, but they were done independent of each other, is my understanding. And I'd like you just to answer in the affirmative if that's the case. So this is three different folks with bridge experience coming to the same conclusion. Tom, is that correct?
Absolutely.
Brian?
Yes, absolutely.
Vince?
Absolutely. In fact, I introduced myself to them today. So this is the first time I've seen either one of them. So
okay.
Absolutely.
The old bridge is not safe in the event of a major earthquake. And so when the notion of shimming the bearings became feasible, we were interested in moving traffic onto the new span as quickly as we possibly could. Now, I think the complication in the decision we had to make today is Labor Day too fast? And I think we were able to satisfy ourselves over the last several days of doing due diligence that it's not, and that a lot of planning had already been done, a lot of events had already been moved away from that weekend. And that having lighter traffic that weekend actually increased our chances of success because it's going to be a lot easier to get trucks and other construction equipment to the bridge if you don't have as much traffic on the roads next door. There are a lot of lessons to learn on this project. And the fact that we spent so long getting to construction itself because of political disputes, because of distractions, because of all kinds of side issues. I do not think it was a case of good behavior. It was a bit like the Pogo cartoon, you know, we've met the enemy and he is us. And at the time that the Wilson administration actually, and this is how far back it goes, Pete Wilson, remember him? At the time that Governor Wilson decided to build a new bridge, I think one of the most difficult parts of that decision for him and his administration was their concern that if you gave the Bay Area this opportunity, would they fumble the ball? And I think we fumbled the ball around here for quite a period of time. Now, I will say that I think this committee, and I have a great deal of pride in this committee. You know, it's often said that the Bay Bridge cost too much and took too long, and I think that's true on both counts. But this committee was not part of that problem. We were part of the solution to that problem. When we were created in 2005, there had been repeated cost overruns, repeated delays, a lot of the political shenanigans that I've mentioned. And we were given a budget by the legislature in 2005 and told by them, we don't want to see your sorry faces again. And they haven't. We have lived within that budget through 8 years of heavy construction, not just on this bridge, but others. and we are still within that budget. And shortly after we were created, one of our first actions was to award the contract to build the suspension span. And when we did so, we set a target for opening the new bridge in 2013. We set that target in 2006, and we are now on the verge of delivering it. So I think the story is ending well, but I think the road to get here was far too long and far too winding. And I think all of us in the Bay Area have some soul searching to do about whether or not we're really able to deliver major infrastructure projects in the era of these endless do loops we seem to go through in public reviews and environmental reviews and political bickering. The high-speed rail system is going through it right now. I think we've simply got to find a better way to protect the value of public input, protect the environment, but do projects faster. And once we make a decision, don't keep revisiting it, but move on to the next decision.
The only thing I would add to Tom's question is I think we've tried to do our due diligence in bringing in additional voices to concur with or evaluate any decisions that we were making lately and challenges that we had. This idea of an interim fix, we did not take lightly. We did not take it lightly from an engineering standpoint. We also did not take it lightly from a traffic management and an impact to the Bay Area standpoint. And I think that we did our due diligence in vetting that from an engineering standpoint and getting outside experts to concur with what we were evaluating.
Right here.
Yes, are you concerned about the public confidence that might think you are rushing now this decision?
We are, and we take that question quite seriously. We're building this bridge for the public. We're not building it for a bunch of engineers. And that's why we, as Malcolm indicated, went out and got not one, not two, but three independent opinions. And as you heard in our hearing today, all three of those parties, the Federal Highway Administration and their leading bridge engineer in the United States, as well as two internationally recognized bridge design firms, they all three worked independently on the same question and came to the same conclusion, that installing these shims in the bearings, which allows us to open the bridge on Labor Day, is safe and should proceed. And the action we took today is to direct that it will, and they'll be in place probably by next weekend or so.
Still a sense out there publicly that there are safety issues.
I know that sense is there, and I suspect there will be people who don't like this bridge 50 years after we open it too. There are people who don't like the existing bridge, and I guess that's the Bay Area. We like to argue about anything. What I will say is this. I do believe that a lot of the debates that we've had about this structure have been sideshows. And a lot of the so-called problems that this structure has are not real problems at all. The notion that there's something wrong with the welds in the tower is incorrect and has been proven incorrect. The notion that we've got a problem on the Skyway with the tendons is incorrect and has been proven incorrect. We've got a problem with the bolts, that's for sure. That's a real problem, and we are fixing it. And we're fabricating a saddle to be put in place on the new structure, and the shims that we're putting in place are a way to get that structure open sooner. I think what that has done is it has distracted attention from the main question, which is the existing bridge is the one folks ought to be worried about, and that's the one they shouldn't be trusting. We've got two structures out there, side by side, and there is no contest between which one is safer. And that's why we feel the imperative to move folks onto that new bridge so that they can be safe as they travel. Now, we may not be able to convince all the doubters and all the skeptics, but at some point, someone's got to make a decision. And someone's got to make a decision in favor of public safety, and that's just what we did today.
And I think all of those questions that have come up, I think we've tried to, again, not only analyze it and be clear about our analyzation of the issues that were brought up, and Steve touched on some of those, but get outside opinions on what those were, and then publish all that information on the internet. The most recent proposal about the interim fix. That information came to us late Friday, if not over the weekend, and we tried to make that information available in a day's business time, business time, such that we could make that available to everybody. And I think that we've tried to do that. And I don't know that everybody's satisfied with how rapidly we did that, but I think we've tried to do that on all the questions that have been raised to answer any questions about any of the other infrastructure parts.
What is now the estimate for getting everything finished? Not just opening the bridge, but pulling all the crews off and who's on it, we're done.
Well, it depends on what you mean by finished, I'm afraid. This project is not complete until we demolish the old bridge. And that's going to take several years. So we've got several years of work, not only to demolish the old bridge, but also to complete portions of the new one. As you heard in the meeting today, when we open the bridge, we will have a temporary trestle to get folks onto the bicycle pedestrian path. We need a permanent facility there. When we open the bridge on Labor Day, we will have folks being able to use that bicycle pedestrian path out to the tower, but not to the island. And that's where the destination is. So we need to complete that work. We also decided, and we decided this several months ago with the contractor, that it made sense to open the bridge as soon as it was structurally ready, but not necessarily when we had every last piece of bauble and ornament on the structure. For example, there's going to be an elevator on the tower for maintenance purposes. That elevator is not going to be there on opening day. It's going to come later. We've got some additional painting and other kinds of work to do. That's not going to be done on Labor Day. It's going to be done later. So we have agreed with the contractor for some time that we wanted to get traffic onto this bridge when it could structurally handle the traffic. And we did so because of our concern about the safety of the old bridge. So we've got a lot of work to do after Labor Day. We've got a lot of work to do after we finish the new bridge in getting the old one out of the way. The city of San Francisco, which is receiving title to the island from the Navy, they are going to be building 2 ramps on the north side of the bridge. And that's work that will continue after this.
What needs to be done between now and August 28th? What's the work that's going to be done? I heard it described in there, all hands on deck. Is that?
It is all hands on deck. You know, in terms of the bridge itself, the bridge, if you've been out there lately, is pretty much done. The construction work that needs to be done over Labor Day is the cut-in work at either end. Everything in the middle is pretty much ready for traffic and will be. So that cut-in work is what has to happen over that period of time. And what's going to happen between now and then is a lot of intense planning to make sure that that is all lined up well, that all the equipment's lined up, all the materials are lined up, all the contractors and subcontractors are lined up, and then they are going to go at it over Labor Day weekend, morning, noon, and night, and we will open up when they're done. The schedule is to open up Tuesday morning, but once we close the bridge and start cutting over, we are not opening up until they're done.
I would add to that between now and August 28th is outreach and traffic management to make sure that that is going to work as well as it possibly can work.
Does the Labor Day opening mean the contractor will get that $20 million bonus?
That's an unanswered question. First of all, the contractor has to finish the work that they are required to do to earn that bonus, and that work is not complete. And once the contractor believes that work is complete, they need to submit an invoice to us, and then we need to consider it. As I think you all know, and you've been following the Bolt story quite closely, we issued a report in July that indicated that we thought there were multiple responsible parties for the failure of the bolts, and that the contractor was one of them. So we will need to sort that out, not only with the contractor, but with the designer, because we indicated that we thought both had a role to play in the failure, and we think accordingly that both need to have a role to play in the financial settlement.
You got about 2 weeks until this thing is reality. During that period of time, you have 2 shotguns aimed at your head in the form of the Hayward Fault and the San Andreas Fault. How concerned are you about that? I mean, I know you've been concerned about it, but this can happen at any time, and we're so close to the end after almost 24 years.
I'll tell you, for me, Tom, it's no different from any day that I've lived with this project from the get-go. I think those shotguns have been aimed at us since Loma Prieta. And I think we have all been mindful on this project that we are racing against time, and the time is not on our side. So, look, is it worse as the closer you get to moving folks onto the bridge? You know, maybe it is, but it's been bad all along. I have been personally very frustrated at our inability to keep people focused on the goal line here. And we have had so much distraction on this project and so much second guessing. And very little of it has been constructive to achieving the ultimate objective, which is to get people on a safe new bridge. Now, we are this close to doing it, but I'm not going to be relieved until we've got that old bridge closed.
All right. Anyone else? Last call. Questions?
You feel safe driving on the new bridge? You would let your mom drive on it?
Absolutely. I want to be on that bridge when the earthquake hits, because it's going to be a hell of a lot safer than most of the other stuff around, including half of our houses.